gentleman's diligence on this, and I share his frustration. I would suggest, however, that we have the power to change things. And I just want to point out that the tendency over the last few years is to give Congress less and less information so that we don't expose the inadequacies, the vulnerabilities, and the mission failure that we see, and the inconsistencies. So it could be different. I'm going to yield myself 5 minutes because I've got some more questions, and I share that with all of our colleagues. If they want to ask more questions, we get another 5 minutes. But they've now changed the metrics. So I've been to Afghanistan a lot. I think it's 15 times, something like that. I've been all over. And normally we would get maps from you that would show the areas and the provinces and portions of the provinces that were under the control of the government in Kabul. And then they would show areas that were contested, that the government was fighting with the Taliban. And then they would show Taliban territory, usually down around the southern end of Helmand Province, Kandahar Province, and parts of Nangarhar Province where the Haqqani networks work in it. Now they've changed the metrics. They're no longer publishing those reports, and they've changed the metric from territory under Taliban control and government control. They've changed the metric to willingness of the Afghan government to fight. Now, how do you measure? You're the one that's got to use this metric, I guess. I mean, I know miles or square kilometers, you know, we can, that's subjective. It's either under control or not under control. When we would go, we would go on to Codell's and ask to go to Lashkar, and they would say, you can't go there. There's too much kinetic activity. We would know that, okay, that area is contested, at least, if not under, you know, Taliban control. Now, it's a real mystery how we are supposed to determine how we're doing territorially. So, Mr. Sopko, how do you use a metric like Afghan willingness to fight?
It's even worse, Mr. Chairman, than that now they're saying, and you're absolutely correct, we no longer will be publishing the district control and population control because our military says they're no longer collecting that data.
Under General Petraeus, under McChrystal, under everyone who was in command over there, that used to Hammond, they used to say that is the metric. That is whether we know we're doing our job, whether we're making progress.
You're absolutely correct. And as a matter of fact, in 2017, which I think is the last time or one of the times I testified here, I said that the goal that our military said was that the Afghans would control 80% of the territory of their country by 2019. Now, that was the goal. That was the stated goal.
Nope.
What we were just told is that's no longer a goal. It's even more squishy, Mr. Chairman, than what you're saying is. The goal now is stalemate is good because stalemate will lead to peace.
What's stalemate at, though? What's the territorial split? Can you say that?
Last
publicly?
data we had, I think, from our last quarterly report.
More like 60?
About 65% of the population and 56% of the districts. So the Afghans controlled 65% of the population and 56% of the district. Okay. That's down from 2018 and when it was a lot higher.
All right. I have another question.
Certainly.
I want to jump to another topic, and
Certainly.
I apologize. Okay, so we have a situation where we're trying to beef up the Afghan National Army. This includes the provision of uniforms and equipment for ANSAF, right? And in June, you released a report that examined the cost of the U.S. government providing Afghan security forces with proprietary forest camouflage pattern owned by Stealth Biotechnology Corporation, and that was between November 8th and January 2017. So look, I've been to Afghanistan a bunch, right? And what percentage of Afghan, maybe I'm missing it, is there a forest? Because they've chosen, if this is the sort of the options here, they've chosen this one over here, which is a dark green. This is the Hyper Stealth Spec Ace Forest. That's what they're picking out for the Afghan National Army. Most of the territory I've been to looks like this, like Helmand Province.
You're absolutely correct, and that's what we highlighted. This was the worst uniform to pick, and it was the highest cost.
Most expensive, right?
What's that? Excuse me, sir?
Most expensive.
Most expensive. And only 2% of Afghanistan is forest. So and this goes back to the good work that Congress can do. Congress put into the law, DOD, go do a real assessment. They did. That's the assessment we referred to. They agreed totally with our findings, and that this was the most expensive and the least effective. What's the bad news is it turns out the Afghans now are buying the second most expensive and the second worst, another green one. It's right next to the one you identified.
That's even greener, yeah.
We don't
Maybe they want to stand out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hate to be an Afghan soldier wearing that uniform. It's sort of like "shoot me" written on the back. We don't know why. And unfortunately, when you don't know why in Afghanistan, you assume there's a bribe.
Yeah.
That's all you can assume. But they're going to use their money to pay for it, so we may have to wash our hands of it for these uniforms.
Yeah. All right.